this is the last official day of notes for Comp Sci 1. So we've got one more thing to learn. You're going to need to use this in the next program. And then after this, you've just got one more program to write in the final exam program. All right, so here we go. So you need a blank piece of paper. Hopefully you've got that out already. If not, then just grab one and pause the video for a second. Assuming you're ready to go. These are called switch statements. So you can label this switch statement notes. And there should be a W there. Okay, so switch statements are kind of an alternate way to do ifs and else ifs. So I'm going to show you what our goal is going to be to do. I'm going to write a program or write a method using the old way, using ifs and else ifs, and then a new way with switch statements so you can see the difference. So here's the task. Write a program that prints the letter grade that corresponds to a numeric average. And for the purposes of this program, I'm going to say that the letter grade is going to be an A if we're from a 90 to a 100. Will be a B if we're between an 80 and an 89. C will be 70 to 79. We'll make D 65 to 69. And then we'll say F is below 65. Pretty much what we've got here, but just simplifying it a little bit so we don't have A pluses and A minuses and things like that. All right, so here's option one. Option one should be how you would write it today if I didn't tell you anything new. So we're going to make a method called public void print grade. And I'm not going to do pre and post conditions today because that's really not what I'm focusing on. But assuming we have some variable called grade, how you would probably think to do it is just say if grade is greater than or equal to 90, we're going to print out A. So system.out.print. You can use print or print ln, I guess. We're going to print out the letter A, so it's going to go in quotes. Okay, and then our next option is B. So I would say else if grade is greater than or equal to 80. You don't have to worry about saying it's less than 90, because if you've gotten to this point, it must be not greater than 90, because otherwise this would have printed out. So we'll say system.out.println. B. And I think you kind of got the gist of it, but we're going to continue writing else ifs. So else if grade is greater than or equal to 70. I'm going to print out C. Two more. So for D, we'll say else if greater than or equal to 65. We'll say system.out.println D. And then I could do another else if, but since we're at our final step at this point, I can just say else. So if it's anything other than that, we're going to give them an F. System.out.println F. And that, and end the method. Okay, so nothing crazy at all there. I think you all could have written that without me, but what we're doing today is going to do this same exact outcome. So it's going to print out A, B, C, D, or F, depending on what the grade is, but it's just in a little more concise, maybe neater way of doing it. So that was option 1. The next is a little bit longer, so I'm going to skip to a new page. So if you want to flip it over to the back, if you don't want to squeeze it in, it's up to you. But I'm going to start a new page. So here's option 2. So Java uses switch statements. And sometimes they're called case statements. So AKA case statements. Instead of if-else to improve readability. That's kind of what I just told you a second ago. It's just a little more compact, neater way. So first I'm just going to kind of tell you what the general syntax is, and then show you how to write our method using a switch statement. Oops. Started saying the wrong word. General syntax. So the way the code is written. You're still going to have to put this inside a method, so it's part of another method. So you'll have some sort of public void, whatever it's called, method name, I'll just say for something in general. But then instead of putting if, you're going to write the word switch, which is kind of like if, and that's going to show up as one of those bold purple words in Eclipse. And inside there, you're going to put a parenthesis, and you're switching on a variable that you're comparing. So we call a variable that you're comparing a selector. So there'll be some variable name in there. So if you want to make a note, selector is the variable you're comparing. And I'm just going to say light grade. So like in the first example I showed you, we were saying if grade was greater than this, etc. Okay, so then inside the switch statement, you list all of your options. And each option is a different case. So you'll write case, and then after the word case, you'll write a value that the selector could be. I'm just going to say in general, option 1. Anything I write in red is something that would change depending on what you're trying to actually compare. But the first thing that this variable could be essentially if this variable equals that, then you want to do whatever code you write over here. Now, one thing that is important to notice is you have to write the word break in between every case. And I'll explain what that does in a second, but let me write the next case. So after break, you're going to write your second case. So the second case is the second value that this variable could be. So essentially you're saying if this variable equals option 1, do this code. else if this variable equals whatever option 2 is going to be, then you're going to do whatever this code is. But again, every time you write a case statement, you want to put break afterwards. And the reason why is this. I'll come back to this in a second. But remember when I told you I didn't have to write else if grade was greater than or equal to 80 or less than 89, because if this had happened, the only way you get here is if this had already happened. Well, it's not exactly the same with switch statements. If the first thing happens in a switch statement, if you don't put break, it's going to do all the code it sees until it sees a break. So, for example, with this one, if option 1 was the value of whatever this variable was, it would do this code. But if this break wasn't here, it would ignore all these other cases and just keep writing the code or doing the code for every other case also. So if I only want to do the code for option 1, I got to put a break there. Or if I only want options 2 code to happen, I've got to put a break there. But I can keep putting as many cases as I want. So I'm just going to write one more. Case option 3. And I'll write the code here. And then remember to put a break. And I can keep doing that. I can keep doing new cases, new cases, new cases. If I want one thing at the end to catch every other possibility, kind of like an else, I can write the word default. And that way, if the variable I'm comparing, the selector, isn't equal to any of my options that I list, it'll do this one. So you don't need any option with default, just any other option is going to do this code. And then still write break after it. So default, you don't have to do that. Just like in ifs and else's, you have to have the if, you don't have to have the else. So this is optional, but it is helpful a lot of times. And a nice way to make sure something's going to print out. But think of it like the else, the thing that goes at the very end. All right, so then we can end the switch statement. We'd end our method. So again, I'm going to use this and show you how we can write the code that I wrote in option 1 using a switch statement in a second. Before we get to that, we got to talk about the selector thing a little bit. I said the selector is the variable you're comparing. Now the way this is written, we can't just put any type of variable in the selector. So there's one other qualification. The type of the selector, and when I say type, I mean like double, int, char, that kind of stuff, must be ordinal. An ordinal kind of means what it sounds. Ordinal, order, or able to be ordered. So like, for instance, an integer is an ordinal value. You can definitely say after 5, what integer comes right after 5? 6. And what integer comes right before 5? 4. So integers are ordinal. They're able to be put in an exact order. In that, you can say what exact integer comes before and after it. Chars are also ordinal. If I tell you lowercase c, lowercase d definitely comes right after that. Just like lowercase b definitely comes before it. I know a char that comes right before it. A Boolean is also technically ordinal, because a Boolean is either true or false. But just like you know how chars are assigned those ASCII numbers, so they're integers, they're able to be put in order. Booleans are kind of also assigned integers. True is assigned 1, false is assigned 0. So if I have true, and it loops around, so I know that false comes after true, and false also comes before true, but they can be ordered because they have those numbers attached to them. The big type of variable that we use regularly that's not ordinal, that you can't use in a switch statement, is a double. Doubles are not ordinal. And you can see pretty quickly when I ask this question, what number comes directly after 3.1? And some of you might say, well, 3.2 would come right after 3.1. Well, yeah, maybe, but maybe 3.101. That's another double that comes after 3.1, but before 3.2. Even 3.11, we could say, comes after 3.1, but before 3.2. There's really no definite number because the set of doubles are more infinite than the set of integers, which is confusing to say something's more infinite than something else because infinity is going on forever. That's a discussion for number theory in college, but you see my point. There's definitely numbers I can fit in between any number that you tell me would come after 3.1. So we can't use doubles as the variable that I'm comparing. Okay, so let's write the new code now. And I'm going to start a new page. You can try to squeeze it in if you want, but here I go. So new code. It's going to do the same as that if-else stuff I did originally. So since I just told you that the variable I'm comparing, in this case grade, needs to be not a double, let's make it so that grade is an integer. So int grade is my variable. And I'm still going to have the same method name I said before. Public void print grade. Okay. And then when I switch, the variable I'm comparing is grade. Okay, don't write this for a second, so pause and just watch. I can do switch grade. The problem with that is there's a lot of possibilities for grade. So if I just do switch grade, I'm going to have to do case 100, case 99, case 98, all the way down to case 90. And then I would say system.out.print A before I do break. And then I would do case 89, case 87, etc., etc. It would get really long fast. But this brings up another discussion. This is why those breaks are sometimes helpful. 100, 99, 98, 97, all the way down to 90 are A's. So let's say grade was 99. Well, it would find case 99. There's no code here, but since I also didn't write the word break, remember it's going to do any code that it sees, which in this case is just system.out.print A, until it sees the break. So this actually would work. It would give me any values between 100 and 90. I'd be able to find it. And since there's no breaks written between it, it would all print out A at the end here. I'd have to put this at the last possibility for that case, case 90. Otherwise, case 90 wouldn't have anything to do. But again, that's super tedious. So let's make this a little bit easier. So I'm going to delete that. And instead of switching on grade, I'm going to switch on grade divided by 10. Now, just as a side note, that's integer division. So let's say grade is 99. What's 99 divided by 10? Well, really it's 9.9, but since I have an integer divided by an integer, 99 divided by 10 would just be 9. 93 divided by 10 would also just be 9, because it lops off what comes after it. So the reason I can do that is, what about 100? If grade's 100, 100 divided by 10 is 10. So essentially, if grade divided by 10 comes out to be 10 or 9, I need to print out an A. So I can do that by writing case 10 with no code after it, but also no break, and then writing case 9, and then saying system.out.print we'll do print ln A. And then I'd want to write break after case 9, because if it prints out A, I don't want it to print out anything else. Then if it's either 10 or 9, it'll print out A. From there, it's a little bit easier for a little while. I can do case 8, If it's anything in the 80s, we're going to print out a B. And then we're going to break. Same with case 7. Print out C in that case. And then a break. Now case 6 is tricky. Since I'm doing integer division, I can't really do 65 to 70 and 60 to 65. So what I'm going to do in case 6, if it comes out to be a 6, I need to check individually what grade was. So inside a switch statement, I can do whatever code I want, even putting an if-else. I can say if grade is greater than or equal to 65, print out a D. Else I can print out an F. I still want to write break after that else finishes so that it won't print anything else out. And then I need one more thing. So it seems like I have the major cases, but what else do I still need? What if it's a 50 or a 40? I could write case 5, case 4, case 3, but what else could I write? Yeah, I could write default. So in any other option, what's it got to be? It's got to be an F. So system.out.println F. Still a good idea to put break for good measure there. I'm not sure if you actually need it on the default, but we'll do it anyways. End the switch statement and end the method. Okay, so it's just an alternative to if-else's. That code that we do right here, maybe a little bit more confusing to think of, is a little bit more compact and quicker to read if you're looking through someone's code in Eclipse. All right, now one last thing. I just want to show you. Eclipse generally does a really good job indenting where you need to. You know, like when you do an if statement, it automatically indents inside. For whatever reason, it doesn't do that with a case statement. It keeps all of this stuff, rather than indenting like I would make it, it keeps it straight under that brace there. So, you know, like if I write switch grade, it's going to have a problem with that because grade isn't actually a variable. But see where that goes right here? If I start writing case 1, I can say system.out.print A. Wait for it to catch up. It's thinking. There we go. And close that. And when I try to break, it'll go right under that case, and it'll just keep justifying it right under those brackets. If that drives you nuts, like it does me, you can tab them over. You're just going to have to do it manually. If you're fine with that, I won't take off for indentation on your program with switch statements. I know that Eclipse doesn't do it correctly, so if you forget to do it and you leave it like that, this is the one scenario where I won't take off for indenting. Okay? But otherwise, that's the end of my notes for the day, and you're going to need to use this in your next program. So definitely, hopefully you took good notes. If you have any questions about it, call me over or star it in the notes, and I will be able to answer that for you.